What's going on YouTube? Yamayati, welcome to the channel. And in today's episode, guys, we're going to be installing the DNA filter on my 2021 MT09. It's Labor Day, guys. I had nothing to do in the morning, so I figured why not take this time to share with you guys a new install and how to do it yourself. So if you want, stick around, stay tuned, and enjoy.
If any of this content interests you, do me a huge favor. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you want, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to be notified of all new uploads.
Alright guys, here's the DNA filter I picked up back in May with anticipation of flash in my 2021 MT09, but obviously guys, it's a high performance air filter. Here it says it increases performance, provide maximum filtering, long life, washable, reusable, fuel saver, environmental friendly, and competition tested. If you guys have been watching a lot of the YouTube channels that they do dyno tuning, a lot of the MT09s have been using the DNA air filter or the Sprint filter. I chose to go with the DNA because it seems like in the UK, this is the more popular one, and the results on these, especially with Chris Moore Mafia and V Cycle Nut, have been very convincing. So we're gonna go with this and install it today. Basically, here's what it looks like. Nothing fancy, but you'll see the difference later when I compare it to the stock filter. This has a bigger filter opening than the stock filter, which is pretty nice to increase airflow, and it should work out well. So we're gonna get started. Okay guys, to remove this fairing that's here, we're gonna need a 4mm Allen key, and there is a push pin here on the bottom, which is right about here where my thumb's at. And there's also one towards the front. Now be careful guys, I had some work done to the bike and they kind of scratched it here. I don't know what they were doing. This is a push pin, but we're gonna go ahead and push this in, pop this out, push in the bottom, pop it out, and obviously guys, use the 4mm to back this out. Don't lose that little plastic washer because it keeps it from scratching the bike. Now guys, this is how I do it. Don't put a flathead screwdriver or something under this to pop it out. That could have been what happened here, but all you have to do is just push this in really softly and get a really nice pick tool, something really small. You could just slide it under and pull this out with no problem. Easy peasy. Here's the bottom side, same thing. Push that in. Go ahead and get your little pick tool, slide it under really softly, and bam. You can even let that fall on the floor. Easy peasy. So once you remove this screw here and the two push pins that we just did, all you have to do is lift this up very softly from the corner here. And it's easier with two hands, but I'm recording, so I'm gonna try to, you just barely pull this front out. There is a rubber grommet that kind of holds it in place, and bam, there you go. That's the rubber grommet I'm talking about. There's also one there. You can see right there, so just grab that corner edge, barely pull it out, and boom, it slides right out. Next step is to remove this bolt that's here. Go ahead and get your Allen key. It's a 4mm. I've already got this thing loose. Go ahead and loosen this thing out, pull it out all the way, boom. And now you can see that this plastic is getting a little loose, and now we're gonna do the opposite side. All right guys, once you do the exact same thing on this side, all you have to do is pick up this plastic very gently, kind of curve it over to the right without banging anything, and boom. There it is guys, you can lay it here safely on the floor, don't step on it, and move on to the next step. All right guys, next thing to do is go ahead and remove this screw that's here. There's one on each side, so just do it the same on both sides of the bike. As you can see, once you remove that, the tank does get a little loose. So go ahead and do it to the opposite side. All right guys, next step is to remove these two screws that are here. They are a 4mm, but they do have a bolt that's under the bottom. So as you're loosening these, make sure you put your fingers under here and catch that bolt so you don't drop it into the frame. All right guys, before you remove the tank, I lifted it up to see how much space I have. Very little, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these carpets here to protect the bike, and I'm gonna try to flip this tank around so I can work without banging the tank around the bike. All right guys, there you go. Now we can go ahead and remove the top of this filter. Here is the ECU if you have to send it to get flashed. And now we have access to the air box in order to install this filter. This is pretty easy. I kind of figured this out really quick. Instead of disconnecting everything, there's only a line for the pump and two drain lines. You can just spin the tank around, leave it nicely on a padded surface, and you should be good to go. So that's what it looks like here. So it's not banging the frame, you're not damaging the pump or anything like that. And as you can see, a lot of space. Just make sure when you put it back, you flip it the exact same way you took it off. All right guys, there is the ECU. Now, if you're using someone to flash your ECU, the exact same procedure that we're doing will benefit you, because you have to send this in to get flashed. This is how you remove it. You just slide it out, unplug these clips, and you mail it off to get flashed. Then when you get it back, you reverse everything we just did, and that's basically it. But if you're going to be doing the filter as well, we have to remove this upper air box cover. So there's screws that are all around it, like so. We'll go to those in a second, and we're gonna go ahead and remove those in order to take the top of this air box off to put in the DNA filter. All right guys, I'm gonna use the drill for this, but be careful, man. You can really drop stuff and damage, even your frame or anything like that. So before you start really manhandling any of this, be careful, make sure you don't drop nothing, go slow, and you should be okay. All right guys, before we open this up, I want to show you that there are 10 screws. There's one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. Actually, one right here in the middle of these cables, and then the rest are on the exact opposite side of the bike. There's 10 total. Once you remove those, you should be able to open up this air box, which you can see it's a little loose now, and that is where the air filter is installed. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this here in a second. Guys, be sure to remove this first. I really don't know what this is, maybe like an air sensor or something like that, but you just kind of pull it up over this little pin that's here and just move it out the way. All right guys, there is the air filter, as you can see. So really carefully guys, without dropping this on anything, let's get a towel and we're gonna go ahead and just put something on the side, not to scratch the frame that's here. All right guys, I went ahead and got some towels here, just kind of hang it over the frame, because what I'm gonna do is very gently, I'm gonna just lay this to the side here, just like this. The ECU wiring should hold this up, so that way I could go ahead and remove this filter. And as you can see guys, here is the stock filter, and let's go ahead and compare that to the DNA air filter. Here they are side by side, and there is a big difference guys. A lot more flow here, less and restricted flow on this one. All right guys, to install this filter, easy tip is that tab is gonna face the inside of the air box, and that cutaway that you see there is to the right. So go ahead and line it up with the grooves out of there. You should see one on the right, and then there's one on the left. Just go ahead and line it up and push it down all the way till you hit the bottom. You may have to, like on here, push these in a little bit so that way it makes really flush contact. All right guys, once you got it all lined up and all the way flush to the bottom, you'll see that the little tab kind of faces this little hole that's here. Don't really know what that's about, but the tab does face on the inside and the cutout is to the right. So once you have that, basically you're just gonna reverse everything you just did. So let's go ahead and do that. Don't forget to go ahead and put this little sensor back. I don't really know what that is again, but go ahead and put that back in the way it goes. For this middle one, I'm gonna use a regular screwdriver since the spacing, where I have the tank is a little awkward. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it manually. Now guys, this don't have to be like super hardcore tight, just tight enough. You can actually look up the torque yourself if you want and do what's best for you. Guys, I like to clean things before I put them back, so just go ahead and clean everything off. You can kind of get in these little spots that you normally can't get to. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now guys, carefully grab the tank and flip it back the exact same way you took it off. So I'm gonna go as high as I can, slightly, gently, reverse it back, and safely, as I put it down, look where I'm going. Boom, that's where the front is lining up. I'm gonna leave this pad there. Go ahead and remove my rags. Boom. And now I could safely go ahead and lift up this back pad that I have and place this down with ease. And there we go. Now all we have to do is push it forward and line it up and reverse everything we just did. All right, guys, go ahead and get those 2 screws tightened up and then proceed to the first screw that's here on the side to reverse this back in place, and go ahead and do the opposite side. While you're here, go ahead and wipe everything down. All right, guys, always check to make sure this is good. Kind of give it a tug, move it up and down, make sure it's not wiggling. Check the lines, make sure they look pretty even, and go ahead and do the opposite side. All right, guys, go ahead and make sure everything's lined up. Remember, you got a bolt that's here on the top, and then you have a push pin that's here and a push pin that's on the bottom. Reverse everything, do it on both sides, and you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the road and see how it performs.
Alright guys, many of you don't know that I got the ECU flashed a couple of weeks ago. We're still working on some of the tweaks to get this thing dialed in correctly and then to release the information. But with that being said, guys, I do feel a big difference in the bike. Now, I wouldn't say it's as huge as the R1, because the R1, I gained like 30 horsepower. On these MT09s, when they're doing the flash, you're basically seeing a horsepower gain of like 10 to maybe 15, just depending on the flash, who's doing it, the exhaust, the filter, the airbox mod, and all that stuff. But I will say that if I were to guess, I would say that this bike now is closer to the 115 horsepower range. The torque is probably about the same, maybe a couple of pounds more, but the throttle response is where you really feel the difference. And the smoothness when you're going up in the RPM range is a lot better. So we're going to show you that here in a second with the DNA filter installed. And I should be able to tell you the difference now that I installed the DNA filter, because it wasn't installed when they did the flash. So let's see if we can get a safe place to do this and check it out. Oh my Lord Jesus, this thing just became a rocket ship. Guys, I'm not going to probably be able to do anything too fancy on these roads just because the traffic, it is Labor Day weekend, but I can tell you right now, big difference in the way the bike feels. Holy mackerel. That is where you feel the difference on this flash, is in the throttle response and that smoothness. It's not like when you hit the throttle previously, it kind of like rip. It just, now it's just like burp. The DNA filter is doing really well, and I feel the difference from the DNA to the stock filter, because after the flash was done, they were asking me, hey, do you feel a difference? And I was like, man, you know, I feel it, but it's not like huge. But now that I got this DNA filter installed, guys, I'm saying it's a big difference in just the way this thing feels. Oh, snap. Who we got here? Tony! What up, baby?
Oh.
You chilling?
Alright.
Nah. I'm just doing a video. You'll come out in it now. Yeah. Now this guy rides like an animal, so I'm probably not gonna follow him too much. Alright guys, now that the ECU is flashed and we have the DNA filter in here, guys, I'm going to tell you right now that this bike feels a lot different. I will leave all the information in an upcoming video with the ECU flash once we get it all figured out. I will be dropping a review video about the flash, who did it, how you can get yours done. And guys, it has been a pretty amazing experience because this bike is already torquey, as you guys know. Now that you got that throttle response with the torque not being restricted, holy crap, this thing feels a lot better, especially smoother in the higher RPM ranges. And honestly, I had the stock filter installed after the flash. Now that I put this DNA filter, now I can feel it. It feels like a lot more air is going through the bike, and you can actually hear it. It sounds a little different, at least to me. I know what my bike sounds like. I'm sure you know what your bike sounds like, but now it sounds just a little different when it opens up and you hear the throttle really sucking in some air. And guys, what an experience. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, it's really simple to install that DNA filter yourself. Just be careful, take your time, don't rush, because you could damage something, you could scratch things. So you want to be slow. You know, it's your bike, so when it's your bike, you seem to kind of take things a little bit more easy, and just follow the instructions and you should be good to go. And guys, with that being said, man, thank you for watching the video. Thanks for checking out the channel. Be blessed, ride safe, take it easy on them filthy streets, and remember, you got to work on Monday. Peace.